So he saw the exhibition, and then did the commission, as if I remember correctly. And he could have seen my work before, but I think the commission. When was the film made?
The first cut that was screened was a work in progress in 1970, but he was definitely working on it after 1968.
That makes sense, because my show was in 69, and in January, I think I'm correct. Anyway, so I would say that the sequence of events was he saw my exhibition and then gave me the commission, but it could have been reversed because I had an exhibition in 66. But I don't think Kenneth was sort of in the swim of that scene. I think that it was later. So anyway, I mean, he knew my work, and I guess, understood that I could sew things. And he said, I want a baseball jacket for Lucifer. And I said, oh, cool, because that being American, I like baseball jackets. I like the fact that they were pieced, pieces of fabric, which meant I could do things like I had done before, i.e. Calendula's cloak and various other things that were patched, but either three-dimensional or worn garments. And so that, the commission, he came to the house and we discussed it. And the house was the Avenue, not the Avenue, the Esmond Road house. So that would put it before my daughter was born, and before I was really 90% of the time in Wellow. So that should be, 68 or 69. And I also, I believe it was my exhibition that was up when Kenneth came in, but it could have been a different one with the guy who was Lucifer. And I remember the young man being kind of not bouncing off the walls, but kind of twitchy.
We probably did feel really out of place. He was genuinely a steel worker, it seems. So he probably he'd never probably hung out with the art crowd.
Yeah. And anyway, Kenneth was kind of fawning over him, saying, isn't he wonderful, and he'll be so perfect, and this sort of thing. And so the jacket would have been after that, I think, but that was the concept, that he came to the house, we had a discussion, he said, will you make this for me? And I agreed, and then I made it. Then when I gave it to him, he was sort of rapturous about, he'd left the design to me, and I thought, okay, a star is good. And this was all kind of, just me working out a kind of American-ish, flashy jacket. And then I thought the rainbow coming out of the star would be cool, and realized that there were 7 colors to the rainbow and 7 letters in Lucifer's name. And so that worked out, and it was that kind of thing. But when Kenneth saw it, he kept telling me he thought I was a witch, and he kept saying, oh my God, you've done the pentangle, and and he did the same thing when I found his ring, because I was wearing it on the correct finger, but I didn't know that. It's just the only finger that it fit on, because it was a big ring, and so I put it on my first finger.
So the rainbow was entirely your idea?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So the star, the rainbow, and the Lucifer, it was all just, oh snap, that works,
Yeah.
So anyway, and then that led to the thing of kind of saying, okay, the colors can change in different patches. But subsequent to that, and I think I said this to you, that then I was in Bath, and Kenneth turned up. I came around a corner, and there he was, and that kind of freaked me out, because we'd had, because Kenneth was at the opening of the exhibition in 69, and that's when my daughter spat in his face. She was like an infant, and that again, it kind of freaked me out, because everybody said, oh, Kenneth is a warlock, and he's been to Mexico and sacrificed babies, and so this it's like, this is spat in his face. Oh my God.
Well, who said that? I've got to know. you remember who said that? I mean, no.
No, I don't know. It's probably a flippant remark from Robert, because
Yeah.
that
Okay.
kind of, that sort of, oh yeah, Kenneth, and Robert went to prison when? Because that's important, because then
I
Kenneth,
think 7. I think 67, maybe 68, but I think it was 67 because it was with the Stones.
It was probably 68, because I think
Oh, he may have done his time in 68. Yeah.
the court case was going on and on and on, and
Okay.
before he was sentenced, he could have just clipped the end of.
Although he did go to India. Do you remember them going to India? They all went to India in 68 to shoot that Tantra film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't know how long that was. And I know Robert was in India for a long time at one point after.
Yeah, it's like they went to India with Michael Cooper to shoot this little film that Mick Jagger thought would be a great idea, and he put up the money.
Yeah.
And then they came back with some footage, and apparently Kenneth ran off and shot a bunch of footage with them for Lucifer at the same time. Most of it didn't make the movie.
Yeah.
And then they came back, and then eventually, sometime in the 70s, I guess, Robert went to India again.
Right. Yeah. So, but Kenneth was obviously in Robert's house when he was at Wormwood Scrubs.
Oh,
the Mount Street house, because
okay.
He painted this sort of central hall red, and Robert wasn't altogether pleased about that, and he turned it into a sort of church, a sort of dark church.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that sounds right. Yeah.
That scribble of dates, I only identify from, kind of Sergeant Pepper. The court case was going on, and all that crap happened all at the same time, and those guys must have been under so much pressure at that point, because that happened at the same time the album was being conceived. I mean, and the court case was kind of dribbling on into the future, but then Robert went to prison and Mick didn't. And during the time Robert was in prison, which would give you the actual dates of when Kenneth was in Robert's flat in Mount Street. So, that would be immovable. And I know that Robert, for sure, because we saw him before he went into Wormwood Scrubs and immediately after. And he described Kenneth's tenancy to us then. So that would establish that.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, just because I know when he went, Kenneth seems to have mostly been in the Mount Street flat in the 70s when Robert went back to India.
They needed a location, I suppose. I mean, certainly
he shot most of the movie there. I think he treated it like a movie studio when he would repaint the walls. And I don't know.
Well, I mean, and that's secondary. I didn't see it read. I didn't, but that was, the story I was told. And I mean, the other part of that was, just my own anxiety about Kenneth himself, because, I'm kind of hearing these stories. I need to put, anti-warlock things around my house because it's kind of spooky.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear he could be, he's, I only saw him and talked to him. I only talked to him one brief time when I was in LA. And that was perfectly pleasant. He was a really nice guy, and he always seemed to be nice, around, like I would run into him places, but I didn't talk to him. Well, I think I think what I actually find so fascinating about him as a person is he, and I don't think I conveyed it perfectly in the book, but one of the, he kind of developed this sort of Orson Welles like, because it does seem like he like lived his movies and he put off finishing them, like kind of because he didn't want to let them go. And even like in our brief moment, he kind of like that I talked to him, he said, well, sometimes you just got to let it go, kind of thing. But what's interesting is that like people don't seem to have noticed who worked with him, and he burned most bridges with almost everybody that he worked. But he always had something to show. Was what like he wasn't really putting stuff off like he developed a reputation. He always, he always had an assembly to show, even from his first. It's kind of, it is almost odd to me that he developed this sort of reputation for never finishing his movies and not like because it was kind of the opposite. It was kind of the like he was always finishing his movies, but he would revisit them and
Yeah, right.
reassemble them, and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was always working, and he kind of had this.
yeah.
He kind of had this him and Donald Cammell, who also seems like he was a real story. Did you know Donald?
No, no.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if he was around much then, but he must have been friends with Robert around the same time.
Yeah,
And you know, Donald kind of had a reputation as well for just sort of not doing it,
yeah,
But
yeah.
Kenneth particularly was always. I mean, I've now seen like 7 different versions of Lucifer
Oh my God.
Rising. I mean, it's just an enormous number of, yeah, and there's more out there, is the thing.
Yeah.
Like I know there's more. So.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, a film essentially, if you think about editing, is like a collage, and
Mhm.
you have the pieces and you can reassemble them. I've visited that feeling of when is a picture finished, when is a sculpture finished, a lot as an artist, and most artists do. And I've worked out some theories about what that is. That what happens towards the end of a picture is several things. First of all, you're much more cautious than at the beginning of a work where you place things really wildly any which way and try stuff out, and it's very much of an adventure. And as an artist, that's kind of part of the fun, is you're starting a hike into unknown territory, and you think, oh, I can go this way and this way and that way. As time goes on, the path kind of narrows, because you become a little bit afraid of your picture, because hey, this bit is really good and I don't want to lose that bit, so I'm
Mhm.
going to keep that and I'll try these things around it. Oh shoot, that doesn't work. Oh God. And you become more tentative, more uncertain. You're further from your base, as it were. But there's also another feeling that's coming in there, that once a painting or a picture is done and in the can, in Kenneth's case, completely finished and oil paint dry, in mine, you have to let it go. And it feels like a loss. You're not on the adventure anymore. It's post adventure. It's
Mhm.
post frisson of doing something you didn't know you could do. And you look at the thing and it almost becomes dead, in
Mhm.
front of you, because it's like it's an object in the world and you're ready for your next adventure. And this is a thing that you have to store or show or sell or encourage people to look at. And it becomes, yeah, it becomes dead. It's not living anymore. And so I think that is a very common artistic angst, as it were. And I don't think we don't dredge that up and analyze it all that much, what it is about this letting go and what it is about being so nervous about a work toward the end of it. Will anybody like it? Will it be awful? Will it be, all those things. And so I think that idea of doing versions of the same thing, revisiting a subject, all of that's part of the process, because of course, 5 years later, if you revisit something, you're a different person. You have something different to say about it. The context you're putting it into is different. It has a different roar, if you like. And I think that's what a creative person is, something that is constantly transforming something. So you're a shape changer. Um,
Mhm.
and so that for Kenneth, that allies with all the magic and all of those things. So that indulgence in the world of fairies and magical things.
Mhm.
Did you have other questions, other notions? That's kind of covered the whole thing, I think.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good for now, and we can always do another brief
Yeah,
one or something.
yeah,